Why not?
History is full of iconic rivalries. Coke versus Pepsi, AT&T versus T-Mobile, me versus allergy-induced asthma. But today we're talking about one of the greatest rivalries in gaming. Nope, not that one. Nope, the other one. That's not his rival, that's just the guy who haunts his dreams. No, today we're talking about Mario and Donkey Kong. Mario and Donkey Kong are prime examples of some of the first rivals in gaming. They've been butting heads since 1981 back in the arcades. Back then, they were at each other's throats back to back for two of the greatest arcade games of all time. Then Donkey Kong decided to pick on some dude named Stanley for absolutely no reason. After that, the rivals split paths. Mario and his brother Luigi took to the sewers in Mario Bros. Then the two followed up with the generation-defining Super Mario Bros. On the NES. From 1985 to 1993, Mario would go on to do, well, this. And what was Donkey Kong up to? Yeah, Donkey Kong may have brought Nintendo into the spotlight, but Mario took it and ran with it.
And don't you dare say I forgot about Donkey Kong Hockey. No, the world collectively blocked it out of our minds.
It wouldn't be until 1994 when Rare gave DK his time in the spotlight once again. But we're not talking about that either. We're talking about the other Donkey Kong game released in 1994, Donkey Kong on the Game Boy. Now, I grew up in the 2000s, so anything that started with 1990 was a concept that I just could not comprehend. My first console was the Nintendo Wii, and my first handheld was the Nintendo DSi. So my introduction to the Mario and Donkey Kong shenanigans was Minis March Again. It wouldn't be until my neighbors were getting rid of a green Game Boy Color and two Game Boy Advances along with their games. So as I acquired a whole new set of games, there were two games that I was really interested in. Ew, no! These were my go-to Game Boy games. Now, I may not have been able to make it past the Muda Kingdom in Super Mario Land, but I did make it pretty far in Donkey Kong. Or what felt pretty far. I'm pretty sure I used to get to level 7, then call it quits.
I have no excuse. I was just bad.
But regardless, this is a game I've been waiting to talk about for a long time. I just unfortunately didn't have a way to record Game Boy games unless you wanted the review to look like this. What is up, my one-up guyers, and welcome back to my new series called Retro Games I Stole from My Uncle's Basement. Today, we have this Donkey Kong game I found. There were like only 4 levels, so I think this one's kind of mid. I think this game suffers from not including Fawful from the Mario & Luigi series. I think we need more characters like that in these games. Out of place? Sure, but I think he should be in this game. Oh, by the way, today's sponsor is from Evil Tyler cereal. What better way to start off the day than with a box of Evil Tyler cereal? Anyway, back to the game. I got to level 4 and won instantly. World record alert. I'm kinda goated. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please? But now I can finally competently review Donkey Kong 94 because Nintendo released it on Game Boy Online on the Nintendo Switch alongside Mario's Picross. Dang it. So not only do I finally have an excuse to talk about this game, but now I can play it much more conveniently and on a TV. Released on June 14th, 1994, Donkey Kong, or what is most commonly referred to as DK94, released on the Game Boy. Honestly, putting just a remake of the classic Donkey Kong arcade game with a new moveset on the Game Boy was an interesting move. I mean, sure, it's a solid remake of the game, and the new moveset is neat, but you'd figured if you're bringing a game like this over and with a new moveset, you'd want to add a little more than 4 classic stages, right? But I don't know, maybe someone really just wanted to play the original game on the go. Wait, what's happening? Where's he taking her? There's more?! Yep, that's this game's main gimmick, taking the original Donkey Kong idea and expanding it to over 90 stages with new enemies, locations, and tools. DK94 does a great job of not only capturing the charm of the classics, but being a distinguished enough platformer to stand alone. Later that year after this game, Donkey Kong would be getting his first solo platformer while Mario already had a decent amount before this. But what I like best about DK94 is that it truly is its own thing. This game is a puzzle platformer, something neither Mario or Donkey Kong did at this point. This game would then spin off into the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which would stick to the puzzle aspect, making this little sub-series a strong time off from the main platformers. But anyway, let's finally dive in. As mentioned before, the game follows the same premise of the arcade classic. Pauline gets kidnapped and Mario's gotta save her. But unlike the arcade games, wackiness is ramped up to a 10 here. Mario chases down DK through a globe-trotting adventure from big cities to Egypt to even an airplane at some point. And while doing so, the game will play these goofy little cutscenes to not only show you what's going on, but how to use certain stage gimmicks. And on the topic of what's going on, Mario may be small, but he is moving. Little guy's got a pretty big moveset from flips to somersaults to handstands and more. Using this moveset, you can skip a lot of the actual challenge, but sometimes you need to know everything that Mario can do to keep progressing. Some of the mechanics include placing bridges and ladders to reach certain areas. When acquiring one of these items, the screen will freeze as you find just the right spot to place it so you can continue. Following that, Mario will constantly manipulate the environment by flipping switches to open doors, turn things off, or change their direction. And for the most part, this works pretty well, but as you progress, you start to realize there's a pattern. You run through an obstacle course, flip the switch, grab the key, then run back through with the key to flip the switch again. It works, but some of these stages just get a little bit tedious towards the end. But I guess things would get pretty tedious if you had over 90 stages. That's right, quantity is very much not an issue here. I'd say about 70 of the 90 stages are really solid. And I mean, 90 stages with varying themes and enemies is an extremely large accomplishment for the Game Boy. Sure, they're much smaller stages, but they get the job done. I mean, it's more than Super Mario Land's 12 stages total. But as for the stages themselves, they're all pretty solid until you get to the stupid little airplane. I may not have ever said this publicly, but wind physics in video games, especially platformers, are never fun. And after the plane stage, you'd think they'd be done with them, but no! They reoccur for the last 3 worlds. Why? It's an annoying gimmick that got me real close to turning off the game. You weren't supposed to see that. Each stage features 3 bonus items to collect: Pauline's purse, parasol, and hat. If you collect each one, a bonus game appears at the end, providing the players a chance to collect extra lives. This is fun at first, then it gets rather old pretty quickly. Thankfully, it's optional because when you've already got a ton of lives, stopping each level gets rather frustrating. And how on earth does Pauline have so many of these items? That's around 90 hats, 90 purses, and 90 parasols. That's a spending problem worse than mine.
Okay, maybe not worse.
As you progress, you'll have many chances to take on Donkey Kong head-to-head, and I think these are the best stages in the game. Grabbing barrels and taking your revenge makes for some very solid boss stages. And as you track down DK and fight him in so many different areas, you finally climb to the top of a tower for one final fight with a giant DK. Once you take him down once and for all, you'll save Pauline and end up in what looks like the Mushroom Kingdom for a very solid wrap-up. Now, here's the thing. For a Game Boy game, this thing is insane. 90 stages with so many different songs, enemies, and gimmicks? This game has more content than some games even now! Yeah, you know what you did. Included with all that is Mario's great moveset, goofy animations, and more! And simply being a puzzle platformer gives this series merit to exist because Mario and Donkey Kong may have their own separate platforming games, but they're completely different from this style. I love this game and absolutely recommend it for those who haven't played it. It spins off into its own set of games too, the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, but they're a topic for a different time. For now, I highly recommend giving this a shot. It's a classic that more people need to talk about.
You know, after playing through all of DK94, I think I realized I might have a new favorite game of all time.
Yep, this is where it's at.